Come on in, grab your seats, guys. We're going to go ahead and get started here. What do you guys think of the new tables? Nice. Yeah, it's nice to have somewhere to eat at.
Yeah.
You don't want to eat in your lap and then have to bend over and stick your chest in your food and just bend down for a drink. That was really fun. Sorry. Yeah, we got a pretty good deal, so I'm happy. We actually got way more in here than I was expecting. The last time we did tables for Amy's class, we were like struggling to fit like 40 chairs, and we ended up getting 70 in here right now. So if it looks a little lighter in here than usual, that's probably why, because there's way more chairs out than usual. So, but welcome to Fire Focus Flippin' Wholesale Group. Mr. Jim Keller and Evan Brown over there are going to be coming on here in a couple seconds, or a few minutes, I guess. But this event is hosted by PropStream. If you're not familiar with PropStream, you can check it out right there. You get a 7-day free trial. You can scan that code or go to propstream.ieric.org. And basically, it's like you want to pull lists and skip trace and do all kinds of stuff. It's really cool. They have different types of pre-made lists that you can order or use and look up in any type of area. And you get like 20,000 leads that you can pull every single month. Something ridiculous. I actually use this list for the Firefast boot camp that happened a couple months ago. I used this list to print a pre-probate list. And pre-probate was basically somebody had passed away. There was some property sitting there, but nobody hadn't actually entered probate. So I put that list, I put it to the Firefast boot camp that we did with like 20 people in the room, and I just said start calling. And I didn't tell them that everyone in that list was dead. So they were surprised.
So nice.
But so they started calling, and Caitlin back there, Caitlin walked away. She recognized somebody on that list, made a couple phone calls, and Caitlin just closed a wholesale deal. How much money did you make on that wholesale deal?
You
can say it. Come on. Say what your check for.
I only made half. No, I mean, the check's at $23,000.
$23,000.
Wow.
And that list came from PropStream. So if you want to check it out again, you can just scan that code or go to that website, and you can pull your own list and start calling. And you'll probably know who you're calling if you do the list yourself. So it won't be a surprise. Our hashtags Build Your Tribe. Our @ is ieric.com, or excuse me, ieric. If you want to take some pictures tonight or take some video, share it on social media. It'd be very helpful. We're definitely trying to step up our social media presence for everybody. So, and Exchangers is happening tomorrow right here in this room. I forgot that we have all these tables now. I don't know what I'm going to do. This setup's going to work really well for everything, and I forgot about Exchangers.
It still can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we need everybody. We need 70 people tomorrow.
70.
12 o'clock. 12 to 2, Exchangers. If you haven't come to Exchangers yet, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend everything we do. But if you want to come make a deal, you have stuff, you have money, you have property, you just want to learn how people do stuff a little bit more creatively, come to that meeting even if you don't feel like you have money, property, or stuff. It doesn't matter. Just come with an open mind and be willing to learn. And I promise you, you got more to get out of that meeting than you think. It's basically a big whiteboard. We just do deals and exchange stuff, money, properties, whatever. I think I bought like the first 30 payments of a note that's secured by a first position mortgage in Virginia. And that happened on that meeting with somebody that came in on Zoom. So you come in person or you can come on Zoom. Doesn't matter. I highly recommend coming in person. If you're able to, you get a lot more interaction. At least come for the first couple times in person, and then on Zoom you can check it out too. So, and then obviously our Fire Focus ones every single Wednesday, the first, second, third Wednesdays in this clubhouse. We are doing Fire Focus events for flipping, wholesaling, and rental strategies. What? What's up, Giggles?
Oh, I was just like, not Mondays?
Not Mondays. Not Mondays.
I'm still hung up on that.
Farrah told everybody last week that was Mondays.
Yeah.
It's not Mondays, it's Wednesdays. And mixed lunch, if you have not heard, who's been to mixed lunch? All right, about half the room. So if you haven't been to Mixed Lunch, check it out. It's in Chino Cafe. It's in Chino at the Chino Cafe, and it's from 12 to 2 every single Tuesday. Nick Blackwell is a big mentor for the area for a lot of people. Passed away about a year ago, and we keep his memory alive with that lunch. So he was really big on just helping anybody. Didn't matter if you're new, super veteran, young, old, didn't matter. He just beat you up the same and told you to buy everything. Don't sell anything. Or made you feel bad if you sold something. So we keep that alive. We're a little bit nicer about it, I guess. But Chino Cafe, Tuesdays through 12 o'clock. And Peter Fortunato is coming out here in August. So I would highly recommend, I highly recommend everything. I gotta find a new word. Keep saying highly encourage, thank you. I greatly encourage. How's that? Greatly encourage you to come check out Peter Fortunato. He's one of the greats. He's like the godfather of creative financing. He's a mentor to a lot of us. We fly out to Florida sometimes to go see him. And he's coming here for the first time since 2017, so like 5 or 6 years, that he's going to be in SoCal. And we're hosting him at the Marriott. So if you are a member, you get $100 off admission. And you can go to that website, you scan that right there, or just go to peter.ieriac.org, just Google it, it pops up. We're actually ranking pretty well now, so just Google it. I'm not going to go through every one of this, because I feel like all of your eyes just glazed over as soon as I went to that slide. But that's everything we got planned or coming soon. Check it out. There's events happening basically 3 times a week. If you're a member, there's a Saturday coffee that's posted in the Facebook group that you get access to as a member. I am going to start trying to stream these events to the Facebook group. I'm not 100% committing to that, so don't hold me to it. But that is the plan. So if you want access to these things, they'll be in the Facebook group. Okay? And there's a new podcast. I don't know if you guys have heard. It's called Fire Chat. I actually recorded 2 of them today. Where's Jared? There he is. Jared came in and recorded, and then Bree, she had an appointment to go to, but so we did back-to-back recordings today. It was a lot of fun. If you want to be a guest on the show, I could really use you as a guest. So even if you don't think that, I don't know why you would think that we don't have something to talk about, but if you feel that way, it's all right. We'll coax some stuff out of you. And just come on the show. Really, it's it's a 2-pronged thing. One, it's to give the club more content and send some stuff out. And 2, I'd like to get to know everybody, all the members a lot more. So the ones that I don't know. So come on out, and if you want to jump on the show, you can just scan that thing, and you'll get onto my calendar, and we'll have a chat. I'll fire. Again, social media. I forgot I had that slide. I jumped the gun. So there you go. And we're starting TikTok. How's it going, Caitlin?
It's great. Follow us.
All right. And our sponsors, Evan, our only gold sponsor right now. Raise your hand. Woo! If you want to get our buyers, let's go ahead and go there. And jump to Yesenia. Raise your hand. Woo! Hi, Yesenia. If you look at Presco Services, Yesenia is your person to get to. And there's some other sponsors that we have as well. Feel free to check them out at sponsors.ieriac.org. There's tiny home people, ADU consultants. Bree is our newest sponsor, and she does midterm and short term and all kinds of designs. So check her out. And if you want to become a sponsor, we'd love to have you. Different packages that we just put together. So come and find me, or just scan that thing, and I'll send you the package. And we're on sponsors. And that's it. So with that, I'm going to bring up Jim and Evan. Let's give them a round of applause.
Well, hello, everybody.
Hello. All right, go ahead. Turn on, Jim.
Is this on? This is on, but the slideshow, yeah. How was everybody today?
They look a little dead to me.
These two again? We're in for a long night.
Yeah, The crying room and sleeping rooms in the back. Please. My wife's here, so don't anyone start snoring, okay? Please.
Yeah, please. We're both of our wives are both right, so we have to be on our best behavior. Yeah, so anyway, I hope everyone is having a good time and pretty excited with what's going on. First of all, who has opened a new escrow say in the last 2 weeks? Good, okay, all right. In the last 2 months? Okay, all right. I was just seeing if anyone else kind of got into that. All right, just kind of maybe on that. All right. Well, first of all, we're here to talk about something which is about negotiating with 3 types of sellers, and we'll get into that a little bit more about which types, etc. And then a little bit on the larger real estate economy as well.
I brought my crystal ball, so we're in good shape.
Good, because I have no idea what's going on out there in that sense. So, but we'll share some stuff with you. And but this stuff about the negotiating with the 3 types of sellers, we'll talk about because some of you are going, hey, there's more than 3 types of sellers. We'll get into that too. But just something there. Let's see. Does this work? Or is it not on yet? Because I don't have my glasses with me.
Should still be on.
Still
The
be
green
on?
button?
Big-
On the right, on the right.
yeah.
The button on the right.
We can
I left my glasses over there.
Oh, you can stop.
All right. Thank you. You know, good help is so hard to find.
It would have been better if you had viewed them a couple times.
But we're the help here. It's what it is. It's not that way. All right. Let's see. Big button, one in the middle or the side? Side. First of all, these are the iron knots. As much as we like to pretend to be, Jim, you want to read one of those or a couple of those?
Well, I'm definitely not a lawyer, and my wife's laughing at the idea that me being a tax professional is pretty funny. I am not a licensed real estate agent. I am not a broker.
I am not a financial advisor, and I'm definitely not a marriage counselor. So just so you know, always seek competent legal tax marriage advice. I'm going to tell you that now. Always do that. You can check. Yes, we do work with attorneys and tax people, and we have our opinions, and that's really what it is. And it's something to keep that in mind. So if we stray into an area about tax or legal, understand where it's coming from, that it's based on conversations and experiences that we experience on our deals and consultations with our professionals on our team.
Free advice is worth the price. It's just worth it.
Yeah, free advice is worth. Yeah. Hey, I got a $250 Chipotle gift card today for my free advice, so I'll take it. And she got a couple $100 free at Target. So, hey, by the way, those of you who was here in the Fire Fast and the cohort, how many of you were in the cohorts? Okay, remember the house in Ontario? That we started at the one in Ontario? Yeah. Did you? And we talked, and our price would have been like I think $375, and she sold it for like $465 to an investor. Doesn't even look all cash. Doesn't look the same, and it's sold for
$26 million.
almost.
He is in escrow right now. He relisted it just recently. He's in escrow.
For at $669, $675. Yeah, and I would have got $6. Pending.
Wow.
Looks like a totally different house. It's like removed walls.
You know, I knew it. I knew that was a good deal from day one. I knew it. What were we thinking? Huh?
Well, here's what he put in $150,000 rehab on a $465. So you're $615. So you're
So after
$675.
cost, he made $8,000 or was it $9,000?
Yeah. Yeah. Looks great. Looks great. No, just single family. Yeah. Look it up. Look it up. I'm just sharing that because despite some of the stuff you hear in the market, some of the stuff you hear in the news, that there are people out there, because there's not a whole bunch of inventory, that are snapping up well-done houses because they look amazing. Just saying. So
Do you know what did he end up doing with the added rooms and that had like a plus?
I didn't see that, but I saw he removed the kitchen wall and put an island in, and made one big room between the kitchen. He had very open.
I know he's doing windows in the roof.
Yeah, he did everything. There wasn't anything he didn't do.
Did he keep the garage an apartment?
He has no picture of that house.
Really? Remember that was the one that had the horrible drainage situation where the water was going nowhere.
Basically, for those of you who are in that course real quick, we went to an actual house that was coming on the market that was through a friend of mine that Angela listed. And when she listed that, I think she listed like $450,000, which is about $70,000, $80,000 more than I would have paid. But again, she got an all-cash offer, multiple offers, $465,000, and she has 16 offers on that. So if you lose out on a deal and someone else paid more, you don't have to feel bad that someone paid more. Let them pay more. You'll get the next one. Okay? Because if you buy a $465,000 house, pay $150,000 into it, have a $30,000 sell clause, and then walk away with $20,000.
So he got an 80% loan on $460,000.
He paid cash.
He paid cash?
So he fronted $600 and some odd thousand to make $20,000.
Wow. And you don't have to worry about guys like that because he'll be broke. You can't do that. You can't do that consistently.
That would get this thing fast, though.
Yeah, I mean, he did a good job. I'm only sharing with it to keep that in mind. Yeah.
Is that the highest priced home in the neighborhood?
Probably. Anyway, I just wanted to, they came to mind. So, just kind of go with that. But anyway, remember this. We're not some of those things we talked about on the board. We want to keep that, full disclosure.
Well, what are we?
Two guys that like to eat. First of all, about me, I'm Evan. I fix and flips. I do Lonnie deals. I do probate deals, wholesale, little double close, long-term rentals, single-family residence, and smaller multi-units, and mobile homes, notes, and.
You're so much more than that, though.
Well, that's just that's what this is. And then Mr. Jim.
So let's see here. I've got a bunch of years of experience investing, active investing. I started in construction as a realtor. Oddly enough, my friend Mary and her husband, one of the very first clients I did a resale, or tried to do a resale deal with. I was unsuccessful with them, but it's neat to see them like 15 years later. What I really kind of specialize in, I think what I've done well, is transforming old, unusable real estate into something good, like taking out the obsolescence, and that's really kind of my big thing. I've done wholesale, fix and flip, single family home development. Did a beautiful home in Corona.
You've done complete build-outs too. Build-up, new build.
I'm starting right now to do auction, go to the auction and purchase at the auctions. I think that's the future for me for sure. But anyway, what else did I put there? I'm always looking to do deals with pre-approved people that I meet here or wherever.
Notice how both of us we're experienced, but we had to read what our resume is basically, just so we don't want to miss anything. Kind of funny. First of all, how many deals have you guys done, just so we know who we're talking to? How many have done just one deal? Only one. How many have done no deals? Okay, a few. How many have done one deal? Okay. How many have done 5 or more? How many have done 10 or more? All right, just a few. So, all right, this little, we want to talk about it. So in the last 12 months, well, I think we just kind of stopped that. So, well, here's this one thing. Just so you know, Jim and I both started different places. I had a 50-hour-a-week job and not much money, didn't know where to start, and absolutely no experience. So I really am, if I can do this, anyone can. So keep that in mind. Jim, you started saying you were an agent?
Yeah, I was an agent and saw people that I was selling homes to were making $100,000, and one deal I think I made $2,700 in my real estate commission, and I realized there was a disparity there that I needed to clean up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So basically, just so you know, for us, and at least I know it from my case, is that I went ahead and, after I started, I attended seminars, I started going to local real estate groups. I really learned the importance of association, and we started doing deals. And that's something that's just highly, highly underrated about the association, and just wanted to share that. I know, Jim, you'll agree with that. But out of those seminars and some of the stuff, the early takeaways I got, I had two big ones, and they really helped me, and I wanted to share them real quick. One was ready, fire, aim. That was like, don't worry, you'll see later, is don't worry about every little detail. Sometimes that connection you need to, that you're going to get into this with that seller or that the person across the table from you or next to you is that you I like to move. All right, I'll say it. But basically,
we have to talk like this. We are robots.
you can move.
We are robots. Sooner or later, we're going to be more trouble than we're worth.
And next month, someone else will be this. No, but really, it was a ready, fire, aim. It was like, don't get caught up too much, and I just have to do it right. It didn't matter if I did things wrong, as long as I had an out. So that was one takeaway, and this is something I learned, and it had to do with mindset, and Jim and I are talking about a lot, and this is something I heard from a guy named Cody Sperber, that people will sell you their property, you will feel like you got a bargain, and they will love you for it because you solved their problem. And so it's a mental block in a lot of ways. So understand that at the heart of our negotiating, that we're looking for what their needs are and how we can fulfill that and help them get what we want at the same time.
Yeah, I remember like doing sales training. I used to work for a big Fortune 500 builder, and it was a 2.5, 3 hour proposition to do a sales presentation where we would tell them all about the property, then we would take them out to the site and kick the dirt, and then we'd bring them back to the models, and we would figure out exactly what they wanted, and then we would come in to the sales center, and a real presentation took 3 hours, and what would happen at the end, if you did it right, you would just say, okay, how would you like to take care of the down payment? And they would say, we brought our checkbook with us. And they would just write a check. And I can tell you right now, that's happened to me, maybe not 100 times, but darn close to it a lot of times. And that's really what I would like to be able to give all of you folks is understanding that there's a process to this, and depending on who you're talking to, you can really do good business. All of these people, no one sells for half off if they don't have a problem. That if there's a situation that they have to get that has to be served, and you've got to figure that out and deliver for them.
Right, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit. So first of all, like I was just talking about, I give that quote because to unlock the mindset really is that's something that's key, because a lot of you still have come and said, what form do I use and what to this? I just don't know what to say. And I say this again, if I just bought a house and I invited you over to come to my house, you would go, this is lovely, why don't you tell me about it? You wouldn't go, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to a friend of mine when he tells me he bought a new car. I don't know what to ask. Yeah, you do. Hey, tell me about your car. What year is it? How many doors does it have? What kind of engine does it have? What color is it? You already know that. Don't think that this is any different in that way.
And it doesn't matter what you do. If you're a nurse, you already do this. You present to the doctors. You present to C-suite level people every day as a nurse. If you're a real estate agent, you're doing the same thing. If you work on a dock, okay, and sweeping the floors, you still have a general manager, still have somebody that you report to, that you have to make a cohesive argument. I'm sweeping this side of the room, not this one, because of this reason, whatever it is, you still have to make a case for yourself. And it's the same thing we're doing every day.
And I can attest, it does not even have to be cohesive. Trust me. I am not that.
Yeah, there you go.
It does not have to be always at all. But first of all, 3 types of sellers. We're kind of going to deal with this real quick. And again, I asked, are there only 3 types?
No.
The reason why, because I looked into, I went and, 10 types of motivated sellers. And I was like, oh wait, that's not right. There's 11 types of motivated sellers. So I found this list. Oh. And then I went, thank you. Okay, it's not changing though. But then 15 types of motivated sellers. It's still several behind. You don't catch that. Anyway, 15 types of motivated sellers, right? But the reality is, if you notice, you'll be talking to someone, or you'll be watching a guru or reading a book, and it's easy. Go find a motivated seller. And really, what is a motivated seller? You want to either read it or talk.
Okay, well, it says here, okay, that a motivated seller is someone who wants to sell, their home quickly and effortlessly. And we all know that's true, because how many times have we knocked on the door and somebody said, I have to move in 4 days or 9 days or something, or my house is being foreclosed on in 10 days. What do I do? So that's it. And that's why they're going to negotiate with you. That's why they're going to listen to, hey, have you ever considered allowing me to give you $50,000, just taking over your existing payments, and I'll pay you back $125,000 that I owe you in 12 months?
We'll get there.
There you go.
We'll get there. So basically, though, that's what it is. So when we talk about focusing on 3 types of sellers, we're, in this case for tonight, we're going to talk about the unhappy homeowners. We're going to talk about the real estate agents and wholesale investors, because they really are different conversations. They really are, and we'll kind of get into that. And first of all, which one would you prefer, the high motivation seller, low motivation seller, or the future home seller, the toe dipper? You're out to talk to. I want to talk to a highly motivated person that is in trouble that needs to sell now. That's easy. That's a low-hanging fruit, right? But each of these, you'll have slightly different conversations, because one literally has a truck bearing down on them, or an auction or something happening, and someone else is just curious what your offer is since you sent us a postcard.
And they often ones present as 3s.
Yes.
Okay, and I think remember, we're not marriage counselors, but understanding that, and like what the words actually mean, it's a big part of experience. It's why you need to do 2 or 3 of these a week to listen to decode the BS.
Okay, so one of the main things about it is establishing connections, and everything we're going tonight, remember that. Doesn't matter who you're talking to, find a connection with that person, because that is really the heart of it. Because as long as you do that, finding things that are relatability, we'll kind of get into that, but just understanding that has to be true and authentic. If you struggle with that, then don't fake it. Just ask questions that about them, what's going on. Let them talk about themselves. People like to talk about what they're doing, their situations. They will. It's very natural. They don't have to think about it, and we'll kind of go into that a little bit more. But don't be someone you're not. At the same time, that's what you're seeking, that authentic stuff. So we're going to start talking about real estate agent real quick, and a couple things. I actually, on these some key points, I actually interviewed my wife last night for a few minutes, because there's something.
You guys speak to one another?
Yeah, we do. It was like,
You're outrageous, man. You're outrageous.
But basically, there's really, when you're dealing with an agent, a lot of times in this case, there's 2 types of listings. And it really is, it's like the house that's ready to move in, all right? That doesn't need much or nothing, and then the total fixer. And I asked her, I said, hey, what happens when an investor calls you? And she said she gets annoyed, actually. It bothers her, because she already knows they're going to come in way low, especially if it just hit the market. Hey, I know you just put this beautiful home completely redone for $600,000. They want to offer $450,000. It's like, it's been on the market for 3 days or 5 days. All right, so understand that when you're calling or talking to a real estate agent, you say you're an investor, many of them might go, ugh. Right? So understand that. One of it will be is how on the MLS, just as I said, long-term or short-term, has it been stagnant for 3 months? Well, that's a different conversation if it just hit the market yesterday. And then
I might add that if you don't know these things, you're already an idiot. Did I just say an idiot? Yeah, I did. You're already an idiot.
You said that.
Okay, you're already, if you're unable to realize that this agent can't sell a property in a market like we're in right now for 3 months, and you don't realize that when you're on the phone, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Okay, so you can find that information on Redfin. It's in everybody's pocket. That information.
Just understand that depending upon which one you're talking about, if it's a fixer or not, it's a slightly different attitude that can come from the agent. And I work with a lot of agents. It's just something that one of the things that about it is it's just a different conversation than if I'm dealing with a homeowner, because they're not a principal, they're not part of that. They're actually just trying to list the house. They're not necessarily emotional about it. And a lot of times, something that my wife had said is that, and remember, is that an agent a lot of times is stuck on the broker rules and the unrealistic expectations of the seller. And they're like this in the middle, getting hit by both sides. And you come in with something, even if it sounds reasonable, even if the agent agrees with you, they're stuck in the middle. So don't add to their problem, try to become a solution.
That actually becomes, in my view, the opportunity. So all of you should be listening for those unsaid keys, those unsaid things that they're saying. Where you're saying, well, no, Terry, listen, I know let's listen for 310, but it's 274 is the price. And I mean, the calculator says that number, and it's kind of ridiculousness that you're saying because she already has offers at 378. Okay, so just by listening and maybe almost laughing at yourself, oh, I could never even do that deal. I got to pay $286 for it. Tell me, do you ever get in a situation where you're dealing with other sellers that maybe don't want to list? I'd be happy to pay your commission. And not you have to even list the property to make money doing it. Right. So I look for another opportunity is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that goes back to, like I said, a lot of times a fixer especially, maybe an agent come in and they just have a pocket listing and they say, hey, if you just give us like $250, they don't want to go to the market, they don't want to do that, they just want it done. Told them I know some investors, etc. And again, there might be a little bit of negotiating, but again, even I was talking to Ange last night and she said, a lot of times there isn't much negotiating going on a lot of the deals with an agent and just an investor. It's like, well, this is what they want, etc. And there's a little bit of room, but between all the rules, they get down to this, and if you fit right near that cookie cutter approach, it'll be gone. Otherwise, they don't. When you start talking, I don't necessarily know everything about the seller when they're represented by an agent. It's hard to find that pain point. Richard got us into a meeting where the agents knew that the seller was crazy, like $100 and some odd $1,000 too high, $150,000 too high on the condition of a house with major foundation problems. And Richard said, get us in the room with the seller. And they tried, and we had gotten in the room with the agents and sat down and went through why our offer for way much lower was a stronger offer. And they said, we agree with you. The agents, we agree with you. They're just not listening. And so later, we went to a assisted living center to meet with the sellers directly and sat in their house, and they still explained why they need to come to this conclusion that they're $150,000 too high. And the gentleman says, I can last about a year before I'm in trouble, paying $9,000 a month for the assisted living. So we got to go back to that one. So anyway, these are the realities of dealing with an agent. So they're stuck sometimes in between the sellers and everything else. So keep the idea of some of the enticements. Is that remember this, is that I've often said, hey, listen, if I'm talking to an agent, and I've told some of you about a deal we did, it was a probate deal, where an agent called and told me about this deal coming up. Oh, they're going to open probate, go to this attorney. And a month later, I said, okay, great, yeah, I'm all interested, I'm ready to go. A month later, nothing. 2 months later, 3 months later, I finally said, tell me what's going on. And she said, I don't know. I said, just get me in the room with that seller. And she did. Found out they didn't have the money to pay the attorney and start probate. Guess what? I did. The agent was not willing to do that. So many times we're willing to front the money when they're not. Because if they're only going to make $3,000, do they want to stop a $20,000 auction, the house being lost to auction for $20,000 and front that money? We will, but they won't. Who wants to spend 20 to make 3? So they just don't. But we can come in and do that. So understand that, again, be a solution to their problem. Do that if you're an ally of theirs, not just another sale.
Yeah, well, the next one, I don't know what it is. Which one's the next one on this?
Oh, well, you can go faster closing time, no pressure needed, pay all cash.
Yeah,
any thoughts you want?
No, I just know that working with sellers has it's a whole nother ball. It's the whole other level of mess. Okay. Again, most of the people that are selling for half off, okay, they have this notion of cash is really important, and that's why I ask all of you to role play with whoever you're doing this business with, because what are they going to do with $378,000 worth of cash? It's a very good question to ask. Okay, oftentimes they don't have an answer, and being able to say to them, hey, you realize, especially if it's not the home they're living in, if it's a secondary home, there's a massive tax obligation.
Right.
Again, not a tax.
But
Go ahead.
We're talking about agents in a moment. But to convey that through an agent is hard. Understand that, right where he's going? Very hard. When you explain that, they're going to go, oh, you know some taxes, so they want to talk to you about something else. Right? So keep that in mind. That's one of the reasons why it's a different conversation when an agent's involved. That's all. They're really more just the facts. Hey, what's your need? When can you close? What can you do? Is this conventional? Is this all cash? Is it hard money or is it cash? Because you wrote cash, but we see here you wrote hard money too. So, you know what I mean? So, it's the same. A lot of them go, BS, it's not. And so...
I know when I was dealing with a lot of agents, and there have been times when I have been dealt with a lot of agents, I really tried to bring it way down. I'm very aggressive with the agents, because that's really all they care about, is like, show me the money. And I like establishing early on that I can pay cash for this home, but... Or my group can, we control $10 million. We just need to make this deal work for us, and start talking to them like this. And then maybe it's sort of like a negotiating technique I would use is I just stop asking about the house, and I start talking about them. And I ask them, how many deals have you done? How many did you close last quarter? If I was to refer you 5 transactions this year, would I be your number one client? I want to know that kind of information from these agents. And
you mean like making a connection?
Like making a connection? I want to establish a dominance. I want to establish that it's a good idea for them to maybe get out of their comfort zone and to work with me. And maybe, I'm a wild cannon sometimes, okay? But I'm able, but this wildness it works for the people I want to do business with. So if your job, in the end, Mary, you don't care if you sell the home for $505,000 or $550,000. You just want the check today. Okay, you want it to close. You want to move on. You want to go to the next buyer, and you want to represent the transaction well. But if you can find, if you as an investor can go to an agent and convince them that you're doing the best, you're going to do the best for them that you possibly can, that's a great way to get your seller to kind of swallow hard and go, well, I really didn't want to sell it for $815, but...
This is where it comes back to where there's an agent listing a house, and the seller has not realized yet what the reality is, and it's $50,000, $80,000 over, and you put your offer in and heard nothing, and you let them know it's a standing offer, and then you might call and follow up, and later it sells for less than your offer. And you're like, what the heck happened? And you call them, and they go, well, we haven't heard from you. It's like, I said it was standing. So understand that follow-up, getting back to them, at the same time that someone else came along, made the offer, and the timing was right, and that happened. So a great tool is like, listen, I understand this house has fallen out of escrow 3 times. All right, I get that. Listen, when your buyer's ready, here's our written offer. Here's what it is. You can double end it. You can write it up for us if that's what's going to get it done. We can close fast, even if there's even if you need 7 days, whatever. We can close fast and get it done. So when they're just done playing around, and you don't want to list it for the 4th time or 5th time. That is where you'll get a lot of little things picked up on that follow-up.
Yeah, not list it, resell it 3 and 4 and 5 times. And guys, guys, I'm telling you right now, I think you got to take it personally. Okay, I mean, I've been involved. I've been on the other side of that where I couldn't get through to these people, and you find out you're on the MLS, and you find out 3 months from now, you're like, holy crap, that place is still available. And you call and usually, just yesterday we accepted, 80,000 less. Maybe it's not quite that dramatic, But shame on me. That's what I meant by take it personal.
Yeah.
Okay? I know how hard it is to get in the living room of an active seller. And then if you're like me, you spend hours and hours and hours, and then maybe you come back, and then maybe you come back again, and then if I'm still not successful, I bring Evan, or I bring somebody, back to the property, like connect with these people. I'm missing something, and I still don't do it, and then 3 months later, the property sells to somebody else. That's on me. That's on me, and
that happens. That happens.
Yeah, this is what this meeting is about. It's really not negotiating. You all know how to negotiate, okay? You all do. Take my word for it, okay? But it's about being accountable. About being accountable for the words that come out of your mouth. About following up. I can't tell you how many, and it is hundreds of homes that I've missed on because I'm just lazy, because I just didn't do the work, because I didn't follow up, because, fill in the blank.
So just understand that, like last year when we bought several houses on the MLS, there were fixtures. Some were total fixtures for the studs, and others weren't. Others were just the deferred maintenance. Pretty much the negotiation was, hi, I see you have this house at such and such. Yeah, you're asking this. Would you consider this? Yeah, I think we would. Okay, well, all right. Well, I'll tell you what. My wife's going to write it up and send it over. That's literally sometimes all it is, because I know the area, I know what's going on, I can see by the photos, and then during inspection you do it. There isn't a lot. It's like, oh yeah, I'll pay that. And on others, it's like, trying to get it down because I think they just had a price wrong. And so I understand that does happen sometimes. That doesn't happen too often with the homeowner, but it does happen. It does, but it's not. There's just not a lot of negotiating sometimes with agents. I know some people disagree with that. Well, I always negotiate. Great, but a lot of times there isn't much room because they're literally in between. Either a divorced husband or the divorce going on, the fighting going on, whatever. And a lot of times they're like, this is what I'm allowed to do.
So if you're dealing with an agent, do you typically bring an agent in when you're dealing with an agent on the other side?
Depends upon. I will ask them a lot of times, and it just depends upon the deal. Sometimes I let them know, and sometimes.
So both of us are married to real estate agents. That's a big leg up. I have to admit to everybody, okay? But the one thing when I'm successful at when I say convincing, I would call negotiating. It's my way or the highway. I got to do. That's really what it comes down to. Okay. But what I am good at is the years of real estate training or MLS training is I know the 18 houses that have sold. And not only do I know the 18 houses that I've sold, what I usually do when I'm going in to buy somebody's house is I take the I take the 3 best properties, the ones with the solid gold toilets, the ones with the heliport, the ones with an Olympic-sized swimming pool. And when they tell me their house is worth what this house is, I usually just turn to the heliport and I go, oh, I'd really like to see your heliport. Could you show that to me? And I want to bring a little bit of reality into the picture, and then likewise, if I'm lucky some days, let's say you're trying to buy for $300, maybe there was a sale or two. Now those sales might not be on the MLS. I might have had to go on to My First Am, which is the First American title site, to find a unlisted sale that happened. But they're in there, and when I'm at my best, I show up with 3 or 4 homes that sold. Maybe even below or just a little bit above what I'm asking for. And if it's a little bit above, I can show, well, that's a bigger lot. Well, that's someone.
That's why a lot of times you say, Angelo, can you tell me where that price came from, or where your seller thought that was a good price and was that at? And then they start telling you about the house that's literally twice the lot size, twice the size, an extra bathroom, been redone, and none of that's been done here. And they think this is the same.
Yeah, it's in the back of the track on the top of the hill, and
but once in a while, someone will overpay for one of those houses. You just want it to be you. Okay, keep that in mind. Well, moving along here. I kind of talked about that where I dealt with a probate with an agent. And we came in and fronted the money to get that deal done, and where the agent gets a referral fee, and I'm just about done to where I can make that payment to the agent, because it's almost ours. And then, yeah, go ahead, Jim.
So there we go. This is a great deal that I bought from a real estate agent. Diane Frank was her name, and people might know her from Europa Valley. So I knew her from my real estate agent days. She was sort of like an agent that taught classes at the Board of Realtors. And I just happened to be lucky and I was driving for dollars, and I found this house. I found this house. It was a mess, and I was sitting in my car looking at my phone, and I saw them put the sign up, and immediately I called her. She knew who I was. We quickly agreed on a price, and it was a really quick deal, because she knew I was a for real guy. I was for real. And this house though was a mess. The deal was a mess. And so what I remember of it is that the house was being rebuilt by a doctor because there was a fire in it, and then they got to the point where you can see it right now. And the contractor died, and then the doctor died, and so I bought this from the wife. This was a short sale, but it wasn't a real short sale because it was like a portfolio line of credit that they'd given the doctor. So it was a real...
And a short sale, remember, is when the house more is owed than its actual worth.
Yeah. And it just was a real mess of a deal that I had to stay on top of. And so fortunately, I was dealing with an agent. Because if I was dealing with a homeowner on this, it would have been a more difficult deal, because she had some scruples. She wasn't just going to drop me off, because as time went on, and it was like 4 months went on while I'm negotiating or trying to get this deal done, how many other offers do you think she got? I paid $240 for that place. And we sold it for, yeah, there you go.
Right before lockdown, a week before the COVID.
There you go. So I'm just saying that the agent part, the agent part of this ended up being a good thing, because I knew the agent, because I could deal with the agent. It was important to her, and again, she didn't care. The price was really irrelevant. She just didn't want her client to own the property anymore. And those are the exact deals I'm always looking for. I want to be the last best option.
One of the things that you're also doing, if you were talking to an agent that had a house like that, is this is where you come in and mention your background, how many deals you've done, that you can handle something like that, or with you and your partners. Those of you know Chris Bedgood, who is a member of the club. He is a friend of mine, and I was on a trip with him, and he had bought a property from someone that was basically a burned out fixer, and it was bad. I mean, it was bad. He bought it, and he decided to just clean it up a little bit and then sell it to another investor. And I heard him on the phone say, "No, I won't sell you this house. The price is, I'm not going to sell you this house because it's beyond your ability." But he wasn't doing it as an agent, but he was like, "It's beyond your ability. I don't want you to get in trouble. I can just tell you now." So he was dissuading the inexperienced people, and he's putting that. He wanted to get paid. He wanted to come out ahead. He wanted to do it. But he was also looking out for the other guy, because we've seen it. I know Rich and I have, I'm sure Jim, where someone, I'm going to say the wrong buyer, but someone buys something, pays too much, goes over their head, and loses everything. And so it was something I went, kudos to that guy. And it's something, so that is something that you want to just keep in mind. And I bring that up because it's something to matter when Chris in this case had the experience to buy it, but then decided to walk and do it, but he didn't want to just stiff the next person. And so understand that when you're saying, in my case, if it was a total burnout, completely done, I would call this guy, because I haven't done that. I'd say, well, we can handle it. Let's get in there. And you know what? We'll close. I'm not worried about that, because we have the cash and we've got the private money. Not a problem. It's not going to fall out of escrow 4 times before we walk the property. And that's going to give some weight to them as well, so they don't have to go back and say, "I know I told you the last buyer was serious, but these guys," and you said it 3 times. And it happens. It happens. So
something like that is what the club can do for you, though.
Right.
A deal like that, parlay with the club members. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. And I was just going to go into pretty much, we're just talking about wholesalers, dealing with wholesalers right now. But just remember that, though, about an agent, when you're dealing with an agent, especially with a fixer, and that's something, again, that you're there to provide a solution to stop the headaches. It's a very stressful job. We both see it on this side. It's a very stressful job in the middle of it. So if you can give value to that and solve that problem, let them know your offer stands. Or on the next one, hey, you want something that just doesn't have to hit the market. Angela had one not too long ago. It was a mess, a major issue, probate, etc. Family, and the family attorney didn't want it on the market. They were just like, no. She said, I know some investors, and they just done. So it worked out real well because that investor, who was a friend of ours, she knew, we'd done business with him, knew that he'd been to take care of it. And so she could do that with confidence and tell her seller, don't worry, we got this covered. And that one went through. So just want to add that. All right, but with wholesalers, remember this, the difference is like an agent, some of you don't know this, an agent is selling somebody else's property usually. It's very transactional. They're representing the buyer or the seller. A wholesaler isn't even selling a home. They're selling their interest in their contract. So I have an agreement on 123 Main Street, and I'm like, hey Jim, I have this property on 123 Main Street I want to sell you. No, I have an interest. My equitable interest in the contract is what I'm selling to him, not the house. Although we sometimes start talking about the house too much, it's really our interest in the house, in the contract. And wanted to talk about that for a minute. So remember, a lot of times, what are some of the words you get when you talk to a wholesaler? What do they want to know about closing, money, all that?
Yeah, they want to know. They want to see my dreaded proof of funds. They want all of that, and they want to know.
Non-refundable.
That's the good one. The $30,000 non-refundable.
We do it.
I've written those checks before, so I know that they do them. They want they're really just concerned. They don't want to have to resell the property. That's really what they want. They want their check because they're not selling a property. They're just selling a piece of paper. They're selling their interest in it.
So understand that there's difference between a wholesaler doing a couple deals and then the wholesaler that are moving tons of deals. And I've dealt with both, more than both, but many different kinds, where they're just next. If they don't sell it, they'll just let the contract go, and they'll just sit there. And the house doesn't get sold, they just back out of contract, and that happens a lot. A lot of them are doing it, they're not even seeing the houses, and that happens. They don't go there. Matter of fact, we just got opened up escrow on a property that they backed out of contract, because I actually delivered to the mail the cancellation of escrow, that they were like, they didn't like the fact that even though they had signed and now they backed out and they got the cancellation, that the wholesaler had never bothered to show up at the property. They were straight doing numbers. And I know they can do it by numbers roughly, but they didn't understand that and they thought scam. So they backed out like, oh, this is a scam. Two companies that I know both the companies had presented much higher offers than ours, but we got it. And we're going to be closing soon on it. So
I think that's the kind of the word on the street out there right now, is that there's a lot of big corporate wholesalers out there that just throw numbers. Like there's the big ones you hear advertising. I don't mention names. Okay. The point is that I actually almost enjoy being against them, but when that happens, I get really close to the seller. Now, if they'll let me, because essentially what is happening, and now what I'm doing is I'm coaching them. Okay, so when they tell you, oh, I'm sorry, we can't close for $416,950 because we didn't realize that your home doesn't have a roof. I'm joking.
It has an extra tall tree.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That tree is. We sent a guy out with a camera, and the sewer line's all blocked off. And you're laughing, but this kind of, maybe not those exact words.
And I just tell them I already assumed the tree's messing up with the sewer line. I just figured it's in there. And that's why my offer is a little lower.
And so immediately I stop worrying about buying the house, and I start talking to my potential seller as a friend, as my brother-in-law, as, hey man, listen, I'm really worried. I know that company really well, and so what's the problem? Why aren't they closing escrow tomorrow?
Right.
And I put the pressure on the other side. So why aren't they?
I will tell you this, sometimes you also got to get out of your own way. because it'll show up in the slide later. But one of the things is that some of the other things that I will get with a wholesaler as I'm talking, and we wholesale property, I do it all the time. But I look at each house. I mean, one of us still looks and we still see, because then we can kind of use it against others if that's the case, if we are in the bidding war. And Jim and I, those of you know, we're bidding with a wholesaler against each other. We didn't know. We kept calling this guy, and this person's talking to us about this offer, and then there's someone else. And I finally go, wait a second, because he said something. Jim, his last name wouldn't have been, they're like, no comment. And then because I got in the bidding war, we bid him up 10 grand. So he paid 10 grand more. I wanted to keep the house, the rental. He flipped it. I would have kept it, but should have sold it to me. Anyway, the point is that happens.
But listen to this. That wholesaler did me wrong on the deal before. Okay? And I called him when I was mad. I was really mad. I was like, hey dude, I don't remember the exact circumstances, but I made it real clear the next house, which was this one we're talking about, I'm not screwing around with you. I'm not going back and forth, and then to lose out on the deal. And
I was going up like
yeah,
3 grand.
No,
3 grand. Yeah, sure, 5 grand. Sure, 3 grand.
It's important though that what I'm trying to say is there's a relationship that I built, and that particular guy, he was
a good guy.
Oh, he's a really good guy. He knows what he's doing. He buys Facebook ads. I guess back then it was working. Whatever. But the point is that I knew he was going to get another house. So on the one before, I think I signed a cancellation because he had some problem, and I was actually like, you're going to let this deal just get away like that? And I figured there was something else going on. So I let him out of the deal, which in the end, I sold that house and I made $87,000, and I didn't do anything to that house. I didn't do anything to it.
Yeah.
I just know that.
Yeah, I got it.
Playing chess all the time.
$87,000. That's what I heard. I mean, Sprinter van. Anyway.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. Let me back out here real quick. One thing about the thing. We'll pick on wholesalers. We're wholesalers. We've done deals together, and there's other wholesalers in the room, and we love you guys. And the thing is that we just look for the negotiation tactic, etc. I've literally been called to a house, said, hey, I don't know, can you take a look, like a friend, a caretaker, a roommate. My friend that owns the house got into this deal, and we don't know them. And I heard you, and I looked at it and said, oh, I know those guys. They're good. What? You haven't heard from them? No, they signed 2 weeks ago, and I called them up right there and said, hey, so, I know the guy. Said, hey, they're telling me what's going on. They asked me to take a look at this, and they're like, no, we're good, etc. We've been trying to reach the other person, and something like the phone number was wrong, and they ended up closing the deal, and that's where I met Colleen. But she's the one that called me to bring me in the deal. We used her as a caretaker of various properties today from several years ago, and she was trying to get us a deal, and so, again, you just take care of people, and it's about making connections. That person now has been at multiple properties for over a year, and we paid her to just move from property to property in RV with her dogs. So, but the point is that I also look out for a friend who comes to me and says, hey, can you check in this deal? And we walk away from the deal. Like Charlie has a deal, and we walk in. Charlie's a good guy. You're going to be fine. Well, let's just give him a call. Let me call him. I'll call him. Hey, what's going on, man? Because I'm not getting in the middle of that. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. But in the case that I talked about earlier, they already had the cancellation letter already done, and they just had to sign it. And I'm like, well, we got to get this canceled before I can open escrow. So I wanted to just talk about that for a second. So it sounds like we died on wholesalers, but we're also wholesalers. So it's just be reputable and honorable.
Most of the homes I purchased through wholesalers. So I don't. There's a great place in everybody's business, and once you guys have contractors that you can count on, once you have money sources that you can count on, wholesalers are going to be your best friend.
Just remember this: you're all going to have. We have it. I know Charlie has it. We all have buyers that a lot of them, like kind of top of the list, will send to, and a lot of those wholesalers do too. So sometimes if you're seeing it because they already said no or they weren't prepared to do it. But a good trick or tip with wholesalers, because I've done this, as I call and say, hey, remember that house 2 months ago at such and such? What happened to that? Oh, it sold. Or no, it didn't. Really? Well, what's going on? If you can get it under contract around this price, I'd buy that. And they'll go back, try to get it, and either do it or not. Or they'll come back and say, Evan, you know, we actually pissed them off on the last day. How about you call them directly? If you do anything, just send us some money. Recently, one of the club members called me about a deal, and she was trying to move it to some people, and I knew the guy would buy it, but I didn't have time. So I put them in touch and said, if you buy it from him, pay me X amount of dollars. If you ever do business again, do that, because this is a long-term relationship. Said, no problem, they're working, they're moving forward on this. It's just a mess of a deal, because I knew she needed to sell it. She was having trouble. I didn't have the time. I brought in someone that I knew could close and do the deal. And they're still working on it. So again, connections, having financial allies, to be a Fortunato say. So I wanted to just do that. Keep that in mind. If there's something else, one of the wholesalers sent me something, and he just said, hey, Evan, yeah, we ticked them off on 2 different deals, 2 different sellers, gave me the number, and then I tried to, I went back and did, and one I'm still working on.
It's mindset for these poor guys. The wholesaler we're talking about out there in Hemet, he told me he spends $40,000 a month, or at the time, he was spending $40,000 a month, you know, on leads. It freaks me out, you know, and for a guy like that to be... you
know what? A lot of guys do that and make a lot of money. No problem. That's just not me. That's not my business.
I'm just saying that it was hard. For me, it would be hard to keep a good mindset if I'm paying $40 grand a month out.
Thank God. Do you want to talk about this deal?
Okay, so this was New Western acquisition. I got this from a wholesaler. Everybody knows New Western. Everybody's got an opinion. When the first time I heard about them, I was like, honey, we'll never have to look for another house again because they've got hundreds of them. And what I found out was most of those deals are for somebody else. And I didn't say they were bad deals. I just said they were for somebody else. So if you're new from China and 15 families put you in a big group and sent you over here and they're just trying to start a business, New Western's a great place to buy homes. You can buy whatever price you want and just bring your family over to work on them. And believe me, this happens in America every day. Okay, they don't care about the price of the home. I care about the price of the home. So I would go out to these homes and I would say to them, I can't bid that price. I'll share with you in a while a way to get the property. But the point is that on this particular house, this is the back property. The picture you're looking at is the flag lot.
How'd you get this deal?
It was a $320,000 home with a lot in the back of the house, of the original house. I paid, we drew cards because there were so many of us and they couldn't get us in the house. And I did not want to bid against my fellow investors, so I said, how about we draw cards? So we drew cards for it. I did not win the deal. One of Doug Shepard, he's an agent in town, one of his clients won the deal. And a day later, the guy didn't want to close the deal because the sales process was going to be too long, he felt. So they offered it to me. So I paid $320 for the place. I fixed the front house fabulously. We kind of broke even on that house. And then I developed from the ground up this property. It's in Corona. We sold it for $1.2 million. It was a big, one of the biggest deals I've ever done financially for me. And it was done because New Western, and this was the start of something really big for me at New Western, because they recognized that I was a guy that when they thought they made a deal with the big agent in town. The guy was wearing a 3-piece suit, and I had my dad in a couple lawn chairs in front of the house. Okay, but they saw me as a guy who could close the deal. So I bought this property, and a couple months later, I bought 3 houses right in a row across from the Alumni Center from University of Redlands. I paid like $610,000 for 3 homes.
On this one, how much did you make?
It's under $1 million, $800,000 on one deal. So
wait, you want to say that again?
Yeah, COVID was really good to me. Okay? That's a really cool thing too, because the people were from Kentucky. Okay, and they had like their cousin, uncle, nephew living in the property, and they had tried to do a lot split on this. And so there technically was a boundary, but it wasn't a legal lot. There was no APN connected to it. So when we bought the property, immediately I just went down to the county and I found out that there was a $29 or $39 filing fee that needed to be filed. I paid it, and oh my God, I had a new APN.
So you saw value in a deal that was in front of you that you didn't recognize?
Absolutely.
So now you look for that? And you
Well, no, not only do I look at that, I have teams of people that are out there right now looking for a 600 square foot house with 14 acres. And believe me, there's 100 properties. You might have to travel a little further than Riverside to find a
What
property
about a
like that.
600 square foot house on 6 acres?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's the deal.
Call me tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the deal. That's the deal. The biggest thing for me, though, with New Western was showing them that I was a can-do kind of a guy, and because of that, I became their bottom feeder. So I was a guy who could close deals in days,
Sure.
and that was it. I was a guy who could do that.
So go ahead and go into this.
So the ninja
last little
technique.
thing.
So you get a black outfit, you get knives. No, I'm kidding.
No, by the way, let me tell you, it's something that just, some of you may know, I just never really occurred to me to do this with a wholesaler.
Okay, so I didn't test this out. Okay, trust me, on my phone, there is 15 properties of wholesalers that I got, and I already cleaned them out one time today. I get like 25 to 40 of them a day, okay? If I was a man, a real man, okay, which, that's questionable, I would be calling every one of them, and I'd be saying 610 for 321 Sorta Street is a nice price, but I'm a buyer at 494. And yeah, they'll laugh at me, but I would if I just sat there all day and just called these people, and then I found out, sooner or later you're going to find out that they don't have a buyer, and then I put them on a call list, and then every morning I call 4 or 5 or 6 or 12 wholesalers, and I ask again, what's going on with 321 Sorta Street? Oh, it's in escrow? Okay, what day are you going to close? You're going to close on Wednesday? I call them on Monday. Hey, is it closing on Wednesday? Guys, that's the early bird. That's the guy who gets the worm. Okay? Is I know their deal better than they know their deal. And because of it, the ninja technique is I gave you some crazy numbers there, but if the property is being sold for $380,000, and the wholesaler always says, and we've got offers to $410, but we're not sure, that's what I always hear that, right? But I got to pay $340 for it. So I yuck it up with them. We talk about the market. We talk about our wives. We talk about whatever it is we're going to talk about. And then I say, listen, I'm all in, and I can put a $30,000 non-refundable deposit at $340. So if things go south on you, you know I can perform.
And you get a couple deals a year that way, just by throwing
at your price, not at their crazy price, because their deals the three properties started at $730 in Redlands, okay, and I ended up buying for $610 because no one could close on the transaction. Because
remember this, the pressure that they're under, one of the sellers going, why haven't they closed? Why haven't you closed, Farrah? Well, you guys told me you were going to close in 30 days. It's 24 days, and you're making me nervous, and da-da-da-da-da-da. There's pressure on them. So I just keep that in mind on it. And so that's something that you can also do with, like, hey, your price is $400. I get your price is at $400, but I'm not giving you $20,000 non-refundable. I give you $2,500. That's me. I don't mind paying $395, but I'm just not doing it. So if you get a better offer, fine. Then you can do something you're more comfortable with. And they may not take it because they're like, no, we have someone. Fine, but what if they don't? So that's why those of you who are like, man, I can't ever buy from a wholesaler because I don't want to give you 10 or 15 or 20,000. You don't. You could say, I'll give you $1,000 on it. You'll get something if I back out. It's something better than nothing.
I love this term. If I could you? If I could, would you? If I...
Oh, you're like...
Hey, Mary, I know you want $410 for this place, but if I could give you $390 and close in 3 days, could you? Could you say yes? Could you? I mean, I don't know. And get used to asking that question to all of the wholesalers.
I we talked about this earlier, about going back to someone say, hey, Derek, you told me about this property, et cetera, et cetera. why don't you, what happened to it? And then he tells me that, oh no, just couldn't do it, or we want to access whatever, we'll go back and get this price. Like I said, I'm still working on one where the gentleman's been sick, and so he keeps canceling on them, and they finally just walk. And I literally rode my motorcycle down the dirt road in front of the house and then kind of rode around and had a blast doing it, going, oh yeah, we did a deal just down the street, I do that deal. And but it's just something to do on those, and you pick up a few other deals you have to work on. And now the other wholesaler's out of the way, you're just going to pay a referral fee when they're done, if you can do it. I've done that with Charlie. I did it, I threw everything at first, a fastball, knuckleball, curveball, threw a football at it. Didn't matter. Literally had me escorted off the property, seriously. And then I had my partner, and then another partner, all these people. I finally said, Charlie, I've thrown up my hands.
And they go up the parrot? They help the parrot?
No, anyway, I tried everything. And so, yeah, so here Charlie comes in and got another contract because it was like, oh, throw me something. And then even at the last minute, Charlie, again, this is talking about integrity. Charlie had this thing's going to auction, and this is like 2 days before they closed. He called me and go, hey, Evan, just saying we're backing out. Why? So the seller got someone to give him like $2,000 more, or $3,000, like 2 days before. He goes, I'm just not going to, anything go wrong, I don't want to be responsible for what. So he backed out, someone else bought that place. And what's funny is about 2 months later, I get a call from a referral from about the owner whose husband threw me off the property because I took his wife to coffee. But she was the one on the title of the house, not him. I didn't. So anyway, oh yeah, long story. But the point is that 2 months later, they called me asking because they weren't off the property yet, and the buyer's like, you gotta leave. And they're like, well, how much time do we have? Like, well, what they give you? 60 days? Well, how many days has it been? 60 days? It's like, you need to call them. And so I still go call and tell them this, and maybe work them through. But Charlie took the time, and he could have said, no, I'm going to close, screw you. But the person, that $2,000 meant a lot to them, I guess, so he backed out. And sometimes, there's something that you got to do the right thing, and you can't put a price on that. That's why I love that guy. So I wanted to share that. So
Me too.
all right, thank you, man. We're talking about the unhappy homeowner. I've seen a lot of these lately. And this is really where we want to spend the bulk of our time. So we got a lot to go through. And basically, again, mindset is everything. And Farrah, you keep up with us?
No, mindset is the difference between you guys making like $3 or $4 million next year and not, and just going on what you're doing right now, because it literally is. It's every part of this deal, and it's funny because today I don't think I even like that mindset I had when I was doing deal after deal after deal after deal. I was talking to all the neighbors, and I would walk across the street and say, hey, we're going to be a mess over here. Here's my car. We buy houses for cash. If there's anyone on this job that bothers you, you call me. My name's Jim Keller. I'm the owner, and by the way, I buy houses for cash.
By the way, with that, I'll say we were flipping a house, and because I called the neighbor, that's a second home in the mountains, and I said, we're working on the house next door, and my guys sometimes may be parking, may accident. Would it be okay? I just thought I'd ask. I don't want a problem. They never go there. And they were like, thank you for thinking of us. That was just so cool. We bought that house later from there. It took 2 years for that, but that's when that connection was made on that first phone call. It wasn't about the price. Got a great price, seller financing. Wasn't about that. It was that we took care of it in the beginning.
And that's mindset. You can't do that if you're arguing with everybody about everything. You just absolutely can't. If you're pissed off because of the $2,000 that you lost here or you lost there,
right.
You just can't do it. And I wish I could get this out because it's just that important, the mindset of what we're doing.
Remember again, it goes back to, I'll say it again about connection and relatability. We're going to get into this now because this is really where I'm on. Here's the first thing is, really, here's some things, and these are important, and we talked about that. You cannot judge some of these people's living conditions. I literally was in a house recently that my skin was crawling. I am not joking. My skin was crawling. It's still crawling. All right? The nice people don't know that there's a problem. They can't smell it. You can smell it from the street. And the reality wasn't quite that bad, but 50 feet from the house. But sitting down, I'm like, where can I sit? And I finally sit down somewhere, and you're just kind of, puppy dog's running everywhere, doing the business right there in the living room. They keep them in the living room, fine, there's an odor, and you have to ignore that. At the same time, there's a dog trying to jump over the thing to kill you that's in the kitchen in the living room. Seriously, no joke. Just the other day. And I'm like, how fast can I get out this door? The problem is they let the other dog outside now, and now I'm trapped. And I'm not joking.
And so you hear this, and what kind of a hell are those people in? What kind of a hell are they in? And they're just lost. And they're just lost. And your job, everybody, your job is to help them just get a little peace. Just to go away for a few days and I don't know, just leave this house. And you have to see your job as that. You're there to help them get out of this. I'm talking like, I got a picture, I didn't bring it here, where there's dog poop on the kitchen cabinets. I mean, you see this, you can't...
But it just one was a...
No, you can see the dogs just, how dogs kind of jump, and they have poop on their hands or paws, and you're just... It doesn't make any sense.
There's one of the gurus talked about it was a situation, and there's literally dog poop on the ground, there's nowhere else to sit. He goes, what do you think I did? I sat in the poop because I hadn't made a relationship. I literally just sat on something I didn't want to sit on to do this deal, got the deal, but the reality is you just have to ignore that, and you can't how can you live? You can't. That's just beside the point, you're there to help. And the point with this is this was a referral because we bought a house from Driving for Dollars because we were around the corner from another house we bought from Driving for Dollars, and we were around the corner from a house that someone that we had helped. There was a referral off, so it was a referral off. It's like the fourth house now, or fifth, that we're now buying this one, but it was a referral from somebody who just said, all I know is this guy bought John's house, I've never met him before, and so these other wholesalers work for these other people, we think are scamming us. He did what he said he was going to do, so they trust him, I trust him, and you should too. And she goes, okay. And this is what I can pay, this is what I can do, and I'm going to help her. I'm borrowing my wife's car, and I'm going to take her to another city. And we're going to drive. I have a Jeep. I have to, she can't get in. It's too tall. And so, maybe I got her own car. But anyway, the point is, I'm going to take her to the city and help her find a place to live because she knows it's too much to upkeep. She has to get rid of the dogs, and she can't, the property is way too big.
Can you say Ferrari?
Yeah, Ferrari. She's lived there for 50 years. Husband passed away. She doesn't know any different. She moved there. I was 3 years old when she moved there. Wow. So this is just kind of what I'm getting at. You're trying to solve and help people. Jim didn't see that house, but Jim's been in that house 50 times. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So another aspect of this that I'd love to share with you guys. A trainer. My wife and I were very big in short sales in the 2009, 10, 11. And one of the things that we were told by our trainer was get ready. This was back, remember when your television was a big box? And it weighed like 800 pounds, okay? Well, that's the TV I had, by the way, okay? And everybody was getting those really cool 55-inch flat screens. They were so cool, weren't they? Well, what the guy told us is be careful. You can't judge these people because they haven't been paying their payments. So what do they have? They have extra money. You understand? They're not paying their house payment. So, sure enough, one of the very first deals we walked into to list their house for sale, okay, which is very similar to going and buying a property, was a big screen TV box. And it is. It's hard to kind of get out of that judgment. But what I started to see it as when I saw that box, I realized that they were in real trouble. Like my wife and I, we would never sabotage one another like that. Okay, I always want a TV. She's always saying no. The point is that we have a working relationship with one another. You're going to negotiate against somebody who doesn't understand the word no.
Or you might be going in somewhere where one of them knows it has to sell, and the other one doesn't think they have to sell, and you're in the middle. Ooh. Again, literally walked into an agent, brought me in on a deal because I was going to be the iBuyer, and the husband had inherited $3 million from his friend who had just died, and he filed for divorce the next day. And he showed up in a Porsche convertible, and she's like, "Hey, Evan, what car do you pull up in?" And I look out the window as I just met this lady, and I'm like, "Some red little convertible." driving a Porsche. I thought she was going to grab a knife and kill him when he walked in. And I was just brought in to help the agent be a solution. And I just said, you know what? Yeah. While Sunday was standing outside, or Redfin wanted them to buy the house. And I was like, you know what? I'd love to buy your house. This is pretty nice. You should use her. And it was a coworker of Angela's actually. And she ended up listing the house because the husband wanted to sell the house as is. He wanted his money now and wanted out. This was all he was giving her because they had no other money other than the house. He was just taking the money and running. After 40 some odd years of marriage, I wanted to kill the guy. I would have like given him the knife. So the thing is that it was like, no, the best thing she did, and the agent sold it for about $100,000 more than I could have paid, and it went fast. So she did better, but I'm just sharing that what you walk into, it's where you're making connections, because even on this other negotiation I was doing with the one with the lady, etc., she had a friend that invited me in to help. At the same time, she's saying you need to do this and pressure, and I realized I need to slow this whole conversation down to deal with this one person and say, I'm not going to do anything you're uncomfortable with. You know, you want me to come back? I'll come back. You want me to do this? When she walked out of the room, the conversation was a little different. Same conversation, just a little different. And we were able to get some things done with the help of her friend, but I had to kind of referee. And as a lot of you know, that's really where the money's made, is trying to just be the calm in the middle of that storm that you may be walking into. And that happens a lot, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So understand that's why it's like, that's just when you walk in that room or you're talking to the seller on the phone, a homeowner, which is different, is because you can really get into the degree of motivation, all right, whether it's high or low. A lot of times it's high motivation. But you got to have that empathy and relatability. If you just come from church and you're all dressed up and they're literally in shorts sitting in poop, roll up your sleeves, pull off that tie or whatever, and kind of sit down, get to their level where you're finding something to sit so you're more there, and then the tonality of how you're talking, what you're doing, mirroring, body positioning, everything as you're dealing with, to understand really what you're doing. It's not just technique, it's just listening. It's just finding out what is going on. One of my favorite things to say is, tell me what's going on in your life right now. Tell me what's going on. Because they won't talk about the house for an hour. They're going to tell you every other thing that's going on. Husband died, the dog died, the friend did this or whatever, and that's going to tell you where to go, just that conversation. Tell me what's going on. Terry, just tell me what's going on in your life today.
You know, lately I've been, years ago YouTube wasn't around, or it was there, but there wasn't the material that's there now. And I find that there's a lot of guys, and I didn't say that, they're going to give you the right answer every time. And oftentimes these are guys that are maybe doing business in Alabama or in, whatever. But I like the cadence. I like these are YouTube channels that focus on live callers. Okay, they're out there. If anyone is interested, you can email me or text me. I'd be happy to send you guys a couple of them. But I enjoy it, especially when I know I'm going to go be talking to a prospective seller. I just have it in the background. I like listening to it. I like hearing the cadence. I like hearing the questions. I like how he oftentimes I hear them asking, I don't want to say dumb questions, but they go a different direction than what I was thinking, and I really recommend. It's role playing, guys. That's really all it was. When I was a real estate agent, that was a really popular thing. You would literally sit down with your partner and act, I want a buyer, want a seller, want a buyer, want a seller. And these YouTubes that are out there just make it a lot easier to do that.
Sometimes we're talking and some people are like, I don't know what to say. It's like, but you're married and you're dating somebody. How do you get across the room and say hi, or you just swipe left or swipe right? Which was it? I understand. I just mean it's a lot of times it's like, hello, tell me about yourself. That's all. Tell me what's going on. They're like, or what did you do before I got here today, or how did you try to solve this? These are all little techniques, but really what it is tell me what's going on, and that alone, that one sentence is just about really everything you need to get started. Tell me what's going on. which is, why did you call me? Or how did I get here? Or why is, it's like, tell me what's going on. Yes, I see that the roof is caved in and the drywall and the water's dripping, true story, water's dripping and they're trying to catch it. Oh, the husband laying on the couch has cancer. Oh, and you're trying to sell this house over there that your brothers live in that have never paid a bill, and you're the trustee of the estate, and they've been there 20 years, and they just drink all day, and you're fronting it, and now your husband's not working, you can't even fix the roof, but the house is yours, you're the trustee and the beneficiary, etc. And she's like, I carried my brothers for 20 years, I can't do it anymore.
These are all our clients, and if you can't deal with these people, you're probably going the wrong direction. You gotta get good at dealing with these folks, and I would tell you right now, I would say out of the deals that I personally was involved in getting the contract signed, I would say tears were shared with 25% of these people. When I think of my wife and I were in a front room of a lady's house on La Palma Street in Anaheim, and there was this shrine inside of like a fireplace. It looked kind of odd to me, but a 3-year-old child was killed, and the husband she was with left. The husband couldn't deal with it, and the story goes, because I was telling you the story a couple days ago, is I'm such a dumbass. I want her to write the contract out on a piece of paper. Okay, I want I want her to write it out. And we're like in a restaurant, and she's crying, and fortunately my wife, my wife was like, stop and like help me out. We ended up buying the property, but the point that I'm making is that if you're not good at dealing with these people,
we ended up buying the property, but we also not right away, because remember there were some things that happened, as you said, which was. Like one time she called Jim, like, man, Jim, I can't pay my water bill, whatever, for the flood. It was $600. So he was like, okay, hold on. So we're like Venmoing her or whatever the hell it was.
I paid $300 yesterday to someone
and we
to
did
get it
all that for
sorted.
several months because we bought the house again for the.
Right.
He's right,
Right.
and I just want to say, I get excited hearing it because I just was telling Jen today. This is so true about what's really going on. What's really going on. You really have to get yourself into that mode of asking them.
That's not a technical question.
And then, when, when you said you follow up, this is what I love to add, just because I know you didn't ask me, but I'm just going to offer it.
Okay.
Take some notes, if possible, or
well,
because when you follow up, you're like, shit, how's your chemotherapy go?
Right. Or how did
you were saying your dog died, and I know you're looking for wanting
how the surgery go?
You do that, you lie, I'm telling you. I had like so many shorts. Only because I listened, asked, and they remembered. Wait, you remember that other realtor was giving me flyers and never asked shit about you?
Right.
I was like,
well, this is where it goes to where every person that I've been in the living room with recently, every one of them knows about a puppy with a broken leg and the pins in the leg. Why? You're looking for that connection. You're looking for that. Or being in a room, there's a flag folded in a triangle over in the corner, and you're dealing with that. I mean, these are real people's lives. So you're trying to deal with that, and you're trying to make money, but you're trying to solve the problem.
What you got out there, Charlie?
Me and Jen have cried like little girls.
we have.
Yeah, we cried like little girls.
Just say, just
I really imagine the story.
What's up?
Yeah, I got a quick question. As the licensee, are you required to do any type of disclosures or when you're trying to negotiate something directly with the buyer?
I'm going to say this. Hold that question, and we'll answer questions at the end.
Oh, okay.
All right? Yes, because an agent deal with a little different on that end. We'll go into that afterwards. Okay? Sorry, I just want to do that. No, one of the things is understand that sellers will lie to you. Usually it takes 2 or 3 times before they take really what's going on. They don't want to tell you that they didn't bother making that payment, that they bought something stupid, or they gambled their money away, or whatever. They won't tell you for usually it might take a couple times. So understand that as you're talking to them. Just ask them. That's why sometimes you ask them again, oh really? And you go, oh, they changed that 3 times now. Usually the 3rd, 4th, or 5th time the truth starts coming out. So just keep that in mind. And again,
but you got to be there the 3rd, 4th, 5th time.
And you can't go. But you said last time that no. You're just like, oh, okay.
Give it to them.
And so understand that. And by the way, number 15 on here, I actually it's something about. So don't tell me what you won't do. Tell me what you can do. That's a Peter Fortunato thing. It's a Peter Fortunato statement when he's actually deep in negotiating with somebody, and he's trying to work out some creative financing deal, and there are just people say no. He'll just stop them and go, hey, and go right to it. I just want to do a call out because I know he's coming in August. But really what it comes down to is that last line is, what does the seller need out of this? Understand, this is not technical. What do they need in trying to get to that? Hey, what's going on in your life? Well, there's an auction coming and I have to pay $40,000 in 6 weeks, I'll lose my house.
What's your plan for that? What are you going to do?
Right.
How are you going to raise that kind of capital?
Right. So we'll go into that. But absolutely, these are the things. And a lot of them, one of you in here has a problem like that, and they still think they're going to solve it on their own, miraculously do that. You're the miracle. You just got to help them figure out that it's their idea, and to have them help them come to their own conclusion that they need to look to somebody else to help solve that. And we'll kind of go into that now. I had to do. I don't know Google Slides that well, so here's another 15 tips. But one of the things is Terry Keller said something about writing notes. We'll get into that, show you real quick. Is using a T-bar. That's something Bill Cook uses, Peter Fortunato used. I started using it because I just didn't learn that way, and I love it. It's been great because it helps get them involved. What's really interesting is that, I'll say this, is that it really involves them, it involves them in the process, but also while you're writing down, and I have some examples, it basically, they can start seeing for themselves when it's written down, and they'll start watching what they're saying because you're writing it down. And if there's a table, try to get on the same side of the table. Don't, because it's adversarial. When you get in a room with your attorney or someone, you sit across from the table, or your boss, you sit across from the table, very adversarial. So a lot of times, try to sit on the same side of the table, or get rid of the table and sit back and communicate. These are little things because the guards go up. Matter of fact, I was with, he's not here tonight, he still stuck at his job. No, we were talking to a seller, potential seller, and they were arms crossed for the first 30 minutes, and the arms came down, and then we kind of just relaxed a little bit, and we kind of got in. And we were talking about vans, we were talking about cars, motorcycles, anything but the house. It's not about the property, it's about what's going on in their head.
Yeah, so we would call this a warm-up, and I don't think that, I think that if you're unsuccessful with this, if you've gone on a couple sales calls and you've been unable to find common ground with them, I know this is just like basic sales. This isn't real estate stuff I'm talking about. I used to work for a guy, he came from IBM, he opened a window plant where he manufactured windows. And we were required to do a 45-minute warm-up with the client. Hey, that's a really interesting earring you have there. I know that sounds ridiculous, but the whole idea is that it was everything but the windows. I was there to get to know them. I was there to understand who they are. I'm there to learn about them. And then once I was able to do that, then it's like, oh, show me the house. And by then I've already been in 4 of the rooms. I already kind of have an idea what they're looking for. But I'm making this point because I learned this from an IBM salesperson. So if they're teaching this at IBM, okay, this is what works. It works because it's psychology, okay, and it's mindset.
I think you're also dating us when you say IBM. You know what that
I'm just an old guy.
means. Who does not know what IBM is? Seriously, or who? What is IBM?
Oh,
Help her. Well, I know you know. Hey, I just had to ask. Sorry. But the point is still the same. You're so right. I just had to. I got your back.
Hey,
anyway,
the idea is mindset's everything. Mindset is absolutely everything. If you don't realize it, you're missing this. I see some of you out there, and you're kind of like, oh, this is the time I can think about what I've got to make for dinner tomorrow night. I'm telling you right now, this is how the deals are done. Is in your mindset.
Right, and there's a couple little techniques I'll give you. I'll give them right now because some of these I save a lot of money on. But one of the things is, I never always subscribe to this, but I've done is get them to name the price first and make sure that a lot of times they're going to tell you a number so low, you're like, you sure? Sure. But no, the reality is sometimes they'll tell you a number and you're like, oh, I can do that. Yeah, that, and you could just pretty much not a problem. Other times, you're such a different, disparate number that at least you know, it's like, well, how do you get to that? But a lot of times, I don't always subscribe to that, just get them to get that price first. A lot of times, by that time, they might have hinted, they might have said something, and at that point, I've talked about the range of what the neighborhood's selling for fixed up. Because I already know what Zillow's telling them in Redfin, and I have an idea already, so I keep that in mind, and I might give them a wide range. They think high, I'm thinking low, but that's just something there. But I know some people insist, and they're not wrong, but many of them use, they always have them give their price first. Okay, again, I just find it goes with the flow because every conversation is different. I never do it the same way twice. And then, Jim, what do you have to say about that, about the price first? You always have them say?
No, I'm a trial closer, you know. Well, I'll start with, well, even if I paid you $1 million for this place, you know, and then the number gets lower and lower. Well, geez, look at this place. It's got solid gold toilets. It's been sold for $610. You know, I like to trial close. That's my.
All right, we gotta move in. I just got the finger. But one of the things is, this is someone I got from someone named Matt, and it was his ninja technique, and I literally heard it, went on the phone, did it, and saved like, I don't know, 5 or 10 grand. I was with Richard at the time. And literally when if he's on the phone, he's talking to somebody, and he goes, what's your price? So then they say their price, $200,000. He stops.
That's a $10,000 sign right there.
Is that the best you can do? And he shuts up. And I'm telling you, I went right out of our conference hall, right into our hotel room, did it, and saved about 10 grand on a deal. And it was like, that worked. That was pretty cool. So I've done that a lot. Don't do it every time, but it's just something. There's a straight technique that's going to be really good and useful on that. And he said this earlier, so I'm going to just say it. Number 12, would you, could you? Hey, well, would you, if I could do this, or would you consider, could you consider? Any of those is throwing out soft numbers that a lot of times they'll say, yeah, I could consider that. Wait, would you consider, if I give you 10 grand down? You just by throwing that out there, would you, could you? Because it's not a real offer, but it's getting it in their mind. And that kind of goes back to if I could pay you $1 million type thing. Mirroring, we talked about that. I always give 3 offers, all cash terms, and I refer to an agent. I want them to know I'm trying to get them the most money, even though I can't, because I'm a conservative investor. I got to pay a lot less. So I got to move on here real quick. This is a T-bar. Who's never seen a T-bar before? This is from a real deal. This is something that Pete Fortunato teaches, Bill Cook teaches. On the left, it comes from Ben Franklin, actually. Where they're at and where they want to be. You can actually use this. I'll real quick to show you. This is actually on paper. I'll go back. And this is a deal that we're in the middle of now. The guy, I just wrote, so you're uncertain, wrote it out on paper. Oh, you owe $40,000. You have a tax auction looming. I just ran through his problems. He sees it. Now, if he tries to change the story, it's harder for him to do that live. Okay, and then I'm like, so you prefer to stay in the house if possible, if we could work it out. New home out of state or van life, that got him on, talking about vans. He owned one. We need reliable car money in the bank, less stress. And they start seeing this, and I go, look, I don't know how, this is where, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but let me work on that. But if I could get you that, would you be pretty happy? Oh, yeah. Where's the price on there? Nowhere. Nowhere. We're just, by then I might have done the would you, could you, maybe I gave a range, somewhere between 200,000 and 300,000 or 200,000 and 3 million. So this is something that I started using, and you know what? It's been great because they can see it and come to their own conclusion, like, oh yeah, because they see it written down. This is literally one that I did with someone I'm still working on, this deal, but he could see, he was trying to save his house, hadn't worked since COVID, 75 years old, working this deal in Hemet, and one of the possibilities was him actually us buying a trailer, moving it to the back, putting a fence, buying it as a rental, renting it out, let him just, die there one day until he knows what he wants to do, or because he really didn't want to move if he didn't have to, but he would. But I'm just sharing this as this, and we started talking about options and some things, but we tried to keep it, and this is how it was written out when you can read it. You know, he had an $800 payment, but he made $1,400 a month, $5,000 in back taxes. He wanted quiet solitude, clean house, move to press. This house was so bad, he thought he wouldn't let me inside. I finally convinced him to stick my head inside and look. It really wasn't that bad. The back rooms might have been, but. And so it's just something, we came up with multiple options, and he's kind of ghosting me right now on this particular one. But I wanted to share this again. Hey, let me just write this down. And again, Mr. Seller, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but if I could get there and work a solution, would you consider that?
Well, except for the racing pigeons, I mean, you're going to find this in almost every seller.
Racing pigeons.
Every seller is going to be
100.
some version of this. This is almost every seller I've ever dealt with.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay, so we wanted to get to some of the others, and we'll be around to answer questions. But I wanted to show something we're actively doing. This is an actual deal these are actual deals that we're working on, okay? Or that we're already in escrow for, or still working on this one. And then I already had just talked about that one, but Jim, you had a railroad deal you want to talk about.
Well, there you go. So railroads over in Casablanca, everybody knows that. This was a seller that I was dealing directly with. They had a administrative lien on the property. What that means is the city wanted to get rid of the heroin shack house, heroin hookup house on the street. So the city put a bunch of liens on the property. He was in a Chapter 13. He came to me and said, I can't pay my Chapter 13 payments. So I made a deal with him to where the payments went up, made my price go lower. And one day I get a letter from an attorney that says that my sale is being nullified because my sale price doesn't match the new attorney's bankruptcy plans. So I was like, what? That's not right, So I made an appearance in federal court. I represented myself in federal court. I was scared to death. But the reality is that you can't, I have a contract with them. And certainly the attorney was perfectly in his rights, and they'll do this to you every day, to say, no, we can't use you anymore, you go away. And 9 times out of 10, I think people just say, okay, that sounds great, I'm out of here. But I got good counsel, I had good people on my side, and when I went to federal court, there's an attorney that works for the court, she kind of referees the whole thing. She said, you should not speak. You have no standing here. I was scared to death. Okay? But I brought a folder that was about that thick, and I said, I'm ready to close escrow tomorrow. It was $171,000 over on Madison and south of the 91 freeway. It was a rough neighborhood. Railroad. It was on the railroad tracks. And the judge said one thing. He said, it seems to me, sir, like you have recourse. Now, I knew enough about the law to know recourse meant I had something coming to me. Okay, so I left the court. I didn't say anything other than, I can close, and that's what my paralegal told me to say. So I did. I left, and I called the attorney, and the attorney that made the appearance wasn't the actual attorney, and I just said, well, I don't know what happened, but the judge said I have recourse. I knew exactly what I was doing. The next day, I got a letter, a phone call from them, and they said they would close escrow with us. And we fixed the house, we sold it, we made good money on that deal. But that was a homeowner, okay, who was completely, when I say out of control, I mean, he was a guy he was almost irrelevant in this transaction because the city was, I got to be good friends with Aaron Chandler, the city attorney in Riverside, and got more properties from him because of this deal. So I hope everyone's hearing this. So I do one deal with the wholesaler that turned into multiple deals, and I did one deal with the city attorney and that turned into multiple deals. And I do that because I represent myself and my team as we're crack, we're the best. There is no one that does better than us. Okay?
But I'm time restraints. Just remember though that as I was saying on this, I'm going to go back to this one deal. talking to the seller, the lady in the wheelchair, that while we were dealing with this, I said, I'm not going to buy your house unless I can make sure you're going to, I normally say land under your 2 feet. But the reality is it's a wheelchair, so you're going to be cognizant. Seriously, I was like thinking, oh crap, I got to change this. But the reality is, it's like, I want to make sure you're going to be okay. And I'm just not going to just buy a house and throw you out. I'm going to go figure it out. I'm just not going to do that. Like the other guys.
Yeah, but
like the other guys.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but just so we're clear, my guy took $1,300 a month from me for 7 months and then tried to kick me to the curb. That's the reality of the business.
Right.
I love the little old ladies. They're sweet, they're kind. Every once in a while we hit a home run with them and they're great. But for the most part, it's these lying, filthy scumbags that are literally trying to take advantage of us.
But we're talking about negotiating homeowners. So that was one of the things about it with the homeowner is letting know. So I'm interested in where they're going to be. So as I negotiate in good faith and give her an offer, why my offer was $75,000 less than the next guy, and they took my offer because I made sure she's going to be okay when we're done. And that happens. I let them know I'm not going to be the highest, but I'm not going to come back and lower my offer later. And I'll tell you that a lot of people, that's what they do on every deal. I've only had to do that 11 times in 13 years. Go back and say, I'm sorry, Jim, but we made a mistake, and we got to do that. Other people do that on every deal to get more out of it. We just don't.
Yeah, that's a sales cycle for some people.
Right. So I don't know how much time I have left. Rich, how much time we have? Talk about the market.
5 minutes.
5? I can do that. Over. All right. Let me do this in 5 minutes, guys. Because really, this is something there. We looked at this, and I'm going to tell you a couple things that's going on, but I'm going to go quick on it. Back in November or October, a lot of us got together. We had our roundtable, and I said something then that still holds true today. And we talked about this earlier. As long as you have, regardless of what goes on in the headlines, which will show you, as long as there's buyers and sellers in rough parity of numbers, whether the market, whether the inventory, there's a lot of inventory or low inventory, in high interest rates, low interest rates, as long as there's parity, pricing should remain relatively stable. Less than a year ago, we bought a house that I thought we were going to sell for $250. Okay, less than a year ago. Everyone said everything's going down 1%, 2% a month, and so you're going to sell in 6 months. Plan on that 10%. Still good to plan on that. Absolutely. We went to escrow at $290 and it appraised, and I thought it was going to sell last year at $250 when we bought it. So it's not always true. Depends upon the market you're in. Are you in the $200,000-$300,000 market, or the $600,000 or $700,000 market? And with that, I want to say is that you got to look at that. Many are looking at it with excitement, others fear, and others. And a lot of people look at the market like this. They're like, I don't know. So what you're getting at is that this is just some things we noticed. That a lot of things, typical value a year ago was 427 and now 417. A year ago, 372, now 366. We see over and over again a 1% drop, a 2% drop, 3% drop. And a lot of the starter homes, median price homes, talking about that market. Not talking about the $1 million homes. I couldn't tell you, this is the market we operate in. So we kept seeing here, when a typical value now, $2,000 higher than the others. So these are just some things from here. But the other part, some others, 587 now, but it was a year ago, 597. There's still, Zillow is one that thinks it's still going to go up, and it may. But here's some other things from Stephen Thomas. We follow Stephen Thomas' report, and I wanted to give it a highlight over the last 3 weeks. Look at the collapse in home sales from 3 weeks ago. Housing affordability issue a month ago. Foreclosures up 123%. He is right, they are. And then another one, I think I should get it out. Here's someone, 86% of Californians in trouble, new housing in California market update. Don't buy a home in 2023, sellers panicking. So you can get really scared really quick what they're trying to sell you. Yeah. And while there's truth, and you should be careful, we're still buying. We're just being careful and being a little more
My mother-in-law's coming to live with me. I need a new house. I'm a buyer, you know? That's
job transfers, deaths, right? Divorce. just absolutely downsizing, someone come, need to move up. These are some of the things that are coming up here, and I can't read that, but really, you go, yes, a lot of the affordability is an issue. That is happening. Definitely an affordability issue, but look at this. Shifted county home prices since the pandemic. Counties at 0% were at the all-time high price-wise in April 2023. Look at how the price drops, Southern California. They're saying upwards 5 to 10%. But in our $200,000, $300,000 market price, we're seeing things $250 still sell for $290. Multiple offers. I have friends that have multiple properties and multiple offers on the lower price points. Again, I can't talk about the higher. I don't know about the $1 million. I can't talk about Orange County. I'm just saying in general, there's stuff. So we are reacting to this. And this is something else. After falling 7 straight months, national home prices rose in February and March. And it dropped and just came up again. All right, so basically this, with the exception of CoreLogic and Zillow, most economic models continue to project house price declines in 2023, and it has to do with housing affordability. And they have not, anyway, so with that, just know and factor in that there is a price decrease going on. Use it to your advantage and plan for it. And if it doesn't happen, you're golden. And if you've done great, you're covered either way. So understand that. Okay, again, now is not the time to overpay because the market might not come out and save your butt.
Send one of those doom and gloom videos to the people that you can't go under contract with. The ones that want to sell for $410.
Right.
Saying, hey, what's it going to be like when your house is worth $123,000 less, or 123% less, or whatever the figure is.
Right. The short version is there's still a housing shortage. Period. Housing inventory shortage. The crunch is keeping prices high. I looked at all sorts of sources. I'm not any of the economists, the other. I'm just sharing some things that certain things are going on. And I saw it best. Someone said the housing is in a recession, as in the inventory, but nothing else is related to pricing.
People still have money.
Yeah, and again, we have such low inventory that matches real well with the buyers. That's why we're still having. We had 4 offers on ours. Something like that coming in.
So you're going to be rewarded, folks, if you can buy, fix, and put on the market in 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. Now all of these 22-week housing flips, just say no.
These are just some of the things that we're doing, and I'm just playing close to home. We're really doing solid deals and numbers. I'm trying to not do as many flips. I still try to do our short time frames of 3 to 4 months. We keep missing that on some. I'm not going to go, hey, I'm going to go ahead and do this project. Should take a year. Nope. Do one for 3 months, 4 months. If it goes longer, that's different. I'm doing a lot more Lonnie deals and family parks. I'll do that. I'm staying away from some of the senior parks, depending upon which one. I'm really keeping an eye on the rental marketing. I had a bunch of vacancies for the first time in a while, and I had to look at each vacancy and figure out, is the market really softening, and do I want to do a rental decrease? I've never had to look at that before, ever. And there was a different reason for almost every one of them. I just replaced like 7 or 8 tenants. And they were really for a different reason on each one of them. But I am in one market going to do a $100 price decrease in one area because I'm hundreds of dollars high, because a year ago I could have just wrote our own check. So we're doing more wholesaling, partnering up. I'm pretty positive about the short term. I always look at the next 3 to 6 months because that's really all I can see. I'm not any of those guys. I'm not Chris Thornburg, Bruce Norris, who I know that was pretty mostly positive, not seeing a crash coming soon. So we're doing that. I'm actually building up our cash reserves, not buying the rentals. I want the extra money to come in. I want to do that. I don't want to keep rehabbing, throwing money at projects I'm not going to get back. But if the deal's good, we just closed on another house 2 weeks ago, opened up escrow, looking at 2 others, and I plan to flip one and wholesale one. So I'm just being very close to what we're doing, and now is not the time that I'm going to go get into major apartments or short-term rentals. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do a switch. I'm going to keep doing what we've always done, play a little closer, and not get too overextended, and we'll be fine.
Just get better at it. Be more efficient. Work with the right crews. Yeah.
By the way, and so those of you who think I'm a little bit like we're a little careful, we also hired another person. All right, because we also anticipate more volume, more sales. It's going to be good. So on the one hand, expanding, at the same time being careful, and then we're double checking. Hey, do we have any any bills that are out there that shouldn't be there, maybe we should be cutting something. We're just taking a look at all that. So that's what we're doing at our team, and want to share that. So I'm cautiously optimistic. As I said there 6 months ago, as long as you have buyers and sellers, even parity, you should be okay. And I'm still working at that, even at the 7 and 8% interest rates. Your thoughts real quick?
No, I listen. I don't need to say the same thing. I think what you're saying is good. We're going to the auction. That's where we're looking for our properties at, and every one of those properties we will buy and have sold to either wholesale or a retail buyer. I mean, within that week, the week we take possession of the property. So we're not involved in any long-term anything. I don't think. When property was increasing in value 2 or 3% a month, a 9-month sales cycle made you an extra 25%. That's just not the situation we're in today. It's going to cost you big money to hold on to property.
Right. So just about, like I said, on the final thoughts is that we're always looking for deals still. We're just being extra careful on some things, and we're still moving forward, looking for deals. Like I said, I'm going to as many houses as I can, trying to get that situated, but pretty cautious, pretty optimistic overall. Hoping for the best, planning for the worst type thing. And at the same time, as I really think that overall it's going to make more money this year than we have in any other year. And again on that, so as much as you have the fearful of it, it's something about getting some educated so you can make intelligent financial decisions. And that's some of the things that we're talking about. That's why I'm really excited about Pete Fortunato coming up. I can't wait to hear what this man said. He's been investing since the 1960s. And he is a highly experienced dealing with the dangers of inflation. So I can't wait to hear what he's going to say on some of that. And so for us, I'm looking forward to that. Again, I'm doing several deals right now. I know Jim is, and at the same time, I'm just pretty excited overall. So just keep that in mind. That measure this. It's not all doom and gloom. I'm pretty excited on stuff. I'm just being careful where we do. I'm not going out in the middle of Yermo. That it was a deal recently that has 300 people. That's 2.5 hours from here, and just not staying Newberry Springs where the sand's literally covering the houses. There's a lot of places I got, sketchy stuff, stay away from right now. That's what we're doing. Okay? And those are really my final thoughts on get out there, kick some ass. There's a lot of things a lot of people need help on. And again, it's about, to me, the number, make connections, find out what they need, and just ask them, tell me what's going on. What's going on in your life? It's not all about techniques. It's just some tips.
Solve the problems. Solve problems. That's what it's about.
All right, guys, that's all I got. That's all I got. Sorry for going over, Rich. We get going sometimes, sorry.
It's 8:15 around. You're on time.
Yeah,
So you're really on time.
good. 5 minutes. Oh, good. That's okay. Keep telling me that.
Good job. So, and for those of you that were here, the members that were here on Saturday morning coffee, we kind of talked about Bruce Morris's event that just happened, and he unfortunately didn't make it, but all echoing the same things. If you guys weren't there for Saturday coffee, we're just going to go sideways for a while here. It might bump up, bump down a little bit. But for the most part, for the next 8 years, we're really seeing stuff just going sideways. So for you flippers out there, it makes it easier to run your numbers. You can kind of stay, it's not like you're going to have this massive dip or massive drop. Of course, aside from, like they said, anything crazy happening like war or another COVID event or something like that. So, and I think that's pretty much what Chris Thornburg was echoing also, a few months ago at the market update. So you guys are seeing the same things, it sounds like. So, right on. One quick note I didn't mention earlier, for Exchanges tomorrow, I heard that I just found out, I was in the back there, that Bill Tan, who knows Bill Tan?
Yes.
Yeah, Bill Tan's going to be here in person.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to come to Exchanges and meet Bill Tan, who does a calculator class, he's like the local wizard of, we have our local landing wizard of mobile homes. Bill's like the wizard of the financial calculator who taught Andy how to use a financial calculator. So, and Bill hasn't been to a meeting in person. I think LAV has still worked Zoom in the last like 3 years or so. So, if you want to come say hi to Bill, we'll be here tomorrow, 12 o'clock right here back in the clubhouse, and we'll see you then or next week. Thanks everybody.